with the temptress. That was a recreation as well of a real story that Caleb was kind enough to tell me and let me recreate, because we wanted to allude to how difficult it is for musicians to have long-term relationships, you know, and how tempted they are all the time, because girls are always falling in love with them if they're somebody like Caleb. And so how do you deal with that? And he said there was this one time that it was exactly that scene where he was like holding hands with this girl at the end of this really nice night, and he was like, oh my gosh, this really feels like I could, you know, this is really dangerous or whatever. And he opens his eyes, and his bandmates are just shooting steely daggers at him, and he was like, oh, you know, and they just snapped him out of it. And I was like, oh, that's amazing, you know, you really would let me do this. He talked to his wife about it and was like, okay, cool. So Kevin was part of that, you know, as well. And then the other story that was a total recreation of an actual story was the drunk girl story, which is just amazing. But every detail, from them waking up the next morning, she's had 4 beers, and she's like, I gotta get to work, and you know, everything. Like, I gotta go to get a burger, and then the line, you know, she's in God's hands down. That all was absolutely how it happened. So it was like they were writing the script for me. It was incredible. And Kevin just was, even though it seemed weird that he would be the one who was on screen more than anybody else, because he was the shyest man I've ever met in my entire life. But he was like kind of the ultimate straight man too, you know. He's surrounded by these really funny people. His brother is the guy with all the hair who's going to kill a bear. I don't know if you remember that guy. And then Nick Nelson is the crazy guy with the bandana who's like howl like a wolf. Like, I mean, these characters were just insane. He just kept leading me to these amazing people. So he seemed to be at the center of the storm, you know. So he was the one who ended up kind of tying the whole thing together.
Actually, you know, if you see the Boondockies live, his brother, at least the show that we were at, his brother was actually there, and he was like in this weird hallway at the Blue Moon, and he like actually stole a microphone halfway through a song and started singing. It was great, yeah. And then went and killed a bear. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Where can you get the soundtrack?
Oh, good question. Right now, you have to seek out every band and buy their albums. Or you can download the individual songs on iTunes. Probably just about all of them are from their websites and stuff. I mean, it's something that wasn't worked into the original contract with the bands, and there's been such a demand for it already. Like, people have been so interested that we're hoping that we can pull that together. But MTV hopes, but it's out of my hands, so I'm just crossing my fingers. But I think it would be great to be able to do that.
Well, if you guys came in a little bit early before the show, there was music playing. So today I actually spent a good hour probably hunting down songs. I was like, okay, and most of them, I think I ended up finding most of the bands through MySpace, which was like a retro blast from the past for me. Like, MySpace, what's going on here? But so that you can find them online. A lot of them do have a lot of their songs available for free through a website called Bandcamp.com. But yeah.
Oh, I had a question about. I noticed that all the live shots that you showed in the bars, people were very much. It just looked like you just caught it, you know, literally, like, you know, but nothing was staged. Is that pretty much? I mean, did you go for that, or did you put in background sound to kind of augment that?
It was all staged, except for the scene where they sing a cappella. They sing on the couch in the middle of the night. They sing that song, and they just sing that song. It's not a cappella because there's a guitar, but they're singing that. That's live. And then I wanted a little bit of live. And then there's another live moment. What is it? Well, Champagne, that we had the soundtrack was always the same, but they actually recorded their voices live during the the Magnetic Blackness one. And then there was one more too that I'm completely blanking out on. I can't remember. But most of them, the vast majority of them, were all they were shot as if you were making a performance-based music video, meaning that there would be a pre-recorded track that was blasting so that everybody could actually be playing and singing, but they had to be doing it to the pre-recorded tracks so that we could change the cameras and change the cameras and change the cameras and do it again and again and again and again, and we'll get lots and lots of camera angles. It's the only way you can get it, you know, not make it boring. Because we only have 3 cameras, so, you know, and they get in each other's way, they have more than that anyway. So it meant that the crowd was all, extras. We tried to get the actual fans there, but they had to be there for 4 hours or whatever. I mean, it's a shoot, it's an ordeal, and it was a really interesting experience because what I was trying to do was capture a really authentic portrait of these people and what it would really be like to go to their shows, But it was all staged, so it was a constant. To hear you say it seemed like it was just being caught really means a lot to me because that was what I was going for, but it was all effort.
What kind of cameras were you shooting on?
We shot on the Sony EX3. I had been shooting on a Panasonic HVX 200 for my last 2 features, and I like that camera very much, but in low light, it was very problematic. So I needed a camera that could see in the light. We're going to be shooting at night and in clubs and dark places, and it costs about twice as much as the HVX, and it does a really nice job in the dark. So yeah, I was happy with it. Yeah.
I see you utilize Venue Consulting as your DP in this. Was that that MTV just allows you to bring your own, do it your way?
Oh, I would not have done this at all if MTV hadn't given me complete and total creative control, and they did. They didn't dictate it. They wanted me to just, they literally handed it over to me. In fact, they said, we know that being MTV is going to be, this being an MTV production is going to be an impedance for a lot of bands because they're not going to want anything to do with MTV. So, just stress that it's all local, it's all you, it's showing your movies, it's, you have creative control. So that's why, I brought, it was all local crew, everything. We had Washington Filmworks as on board, so they gave us a rebate, which meant it had to be all local because anything that wasn't local, they would not give us a rebate on. So
Did you get a credit?
did we get to? Of course. Oh my God. Yeah.
Nice
No, my
job.
editor and I, Matt Sanders,
Right.
but yeah, no, we didn't hand out, no. Forget about it. Yeah, yes.
So I loved the locations, like you had so many different locations. Did you get everything you wanted?
Almost, yeah. I mean, I asked all the bands where they loved to play most, where they most often played, and I put them really in those places. And I got all of the venues that I wanted, except with a couple of exceptions, I had to have stand-in locations. So the house that the drunk girl wakes up in, and there's the kitchen scene where she's drinking beer, and that whole house, that was the house of another bandmate of theirs, because the old Greek guy didn't want us to shoot in Jason and Jesse's actual house. So we couldn't use their actual house, but we used some bandmate's house, which was basically like, a good stand-in for that. And then it was the same thing with Whiskey Tango, when the pink kitchen where they all wake up, the House of God where they play and they're kissing, the boys kiss in the basement. That whole house, was supposed to take place in a different house, and we couldn't get permission from the landlord again. It's totally crappy rental, and the landlord was like, oh no, don't touch anything. And it was really weird. Anyway, so we used another crappy house, but that seemed to work fine too. And then the other one was, I really wanted a speakeasy. Seattle has these amazing speakeasies. They really like these underground places that are totally illegal, but are really cool. And there's this one that I really wanted to shoot in, and I went and location scouted, and I walked in, and I was like, oh my God, this place is amazing. I can never shoot here because I will totally blow the cover. Of course I can't shoot here. What am I thinking? And so I realized I was going to get them busted if I shot there because we had a big mobile home and we had a big camera truck, so we had, we had to get, it was no way. So instead, where Champagne performs with Magnetic Blackness with Deep Satisfaction is at 4 in the morning or whatever, and they're all smoking and drinking because it's a speakeasy, is a resurrection of a speakeasy that really existed, but had a year before been busted. Under the Sunset Tavern is where that was in Ballard, and it really was a speakeasy for quite a while, and they finally got they had to stop it. So they resurrected it for us. So that was, but all the other locations were absolutely real.
So you talked about casting the bands and casting locations, and then it seems like the songs themselves are actually, really specifically chosen. So can you talk a little bit about casting the songs?
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Zaina Geddes, who is the one who, she sings 2 songs. She sings she's the one with the mohawk. right? So she sings in the chop suey with her song with her band that really is sort of hard rock and crazy sort of retro, anyway, rock. And then later she sings. She looks like Billie Holiday, and she's singing that beautiful, beautiful song in the studio with just her piano player. And that song kind of wrote her little scenario, because her whole deal is that she's been named by the Stranger, audience survey or reader survey, the sexiest rock star in Seattle. She's like this incredibly hot woman, and she's eternally single. She just has terrible boyfriend trouble and can't seem to just make it work with guys. And she's actually in the band with an ex-boyfriend. And she broke up with him, but she's talked about how she still gets jealous, when he, and so she wrote the song kind of about that. But ultimately didn't want to have me show that it was too close to home to show that actual scenario on screen. So we had this sort of stand-in situation, so it was once removed. But it was that song, I wanted her to be able to sing that song the next day to kind of comfort herself. And so I built that part of the script around that particular song. The last song, the Boondoggie song, again, every time I listened to the albums of these people, I was listening for songs that would thematically match, or might be interesting to kind of be an inspiration that I could build